has undergone a number of developments over the years, and I think when both of us arrived here, having been here in previous guises for DTM, that the developments that have gone here in anticipation of the Grand Prix, which was held just a few weeks ago here, absolutely magnificent, and credit to everyone there. Here then on the back of some success in Russia at the Moscow Raceway and leading the championship, Esteban Ocon.
Yep, and he's taken his 14th pole position of the year. So basically, 2/3 of the races so far in 2014, the Frenchman has been on pole. He leads the championship by 116 points from young gun Max Verstappen, who's also qualified well. He's going to be starting on the outside of row 1, so the difference between them was 1.5 tenths of a second around this 4.3 kilometre long circuit. There is Max Verstappen, the Dutch driver for Van Amersfoort Racing. Absolutely sensational rookie season for him, more so because unlike some of the other rookies in F3, he's had no prior car racing experience, just a karting background, and he's won 7 races this year, including that incredible streak of 6 wins on the trot at Spa and the Norris Ring. Going very well is Tom Blomqvist, the British driver, son of Stig Blomqvist. He's 3rd quickest in qualifying, and he, for Carlin, for the Jagonia IAM team, was less than 2 tenths away from the pole time as well. So Tom currently lying 4th in the championships, had 3 wins and a couple of podiums so far this year, but his last win was back in the 3rd event of the season at Pau, and they'll be looking to go one better here. It's very close between him and local hero Lucas Auer for 3rd place in the championship standings. Then there is Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian teammate to Tom Blomqvist, who starts on the outside of row number 2. He's had a mixed season. He's had just the 1 podium finish, which came in the 2nd round at Hockenheim. Didn't have a very good time of it at Moscow, but very good qualifying. And somebody else who's back on the rise here, started the season well, then dipped a bit, is this man, Dave.
Antonio Fuoco, yes, the Prima Power Team driver who, as you quite rightly said, you know, started the year the way we thought he was going to go on, but he kind of dipped in form, didn't he? And he's rising back up the ranks now and starting from there.
He is, yeah, the Ferrari-backed driver with a win in the first weekend of the season at Silverstone. Then some mixed results since then, but he was on the podium twice last time out at Moscow. And then, starting 6th on the grid, another young rookie, Jake Dennis, who has come from Formula Renault Racing, 4th in the Formula Renault Championship last year. Then before that, in the Intersteps Championship in Great Britain, he was the winner of that. Jake currently he's lying in 8th place in the championship. Has had a couple of podiums, 1 at Pau and 1 at Spa. A mixed weekend at Moscow last time out, including a drive-through in one of the races, but he did get a 4th place finish there. And Gustavo Meneses, the American driver, teammate to Max Verstappen in Fritz Van Amersfoort's team. He starts this race 7th on the grid. Comes from California, age 19. Started his car racing career in the Star Mazda series. And then the ATS Formula 3 Cup last year with Van Amersfoort was his first foray into Europe. Got a couple of wins in that championship. This is his first full season in this championship, though. There you can see the run. I was going to say down to turn 1, but it's the run up to turn 1 because it's a very steep rise. And important to get a perfect start here off the line. The starts are going to be pretty critical, given that it's quite a steep uphill run to the first corner, isn't it?
Yeah, uphill to turn 1. Then it's the long stretch up to the Remus turn 2, which has got a little bit of a kink in it before it goes really uphill before the apex of the turn for turn 2. And interestingly, during free practice, and during qualifying, the 2 areas where track limits were being exceeded appeared to be the turn 1 and turn 8. So we'll keep an eye on that. And a welcome return, Chris, to Ed Jones.
Yeah, damaged his back earlier in the season, so he's missed a couple of rounds. Was out last weekend guesting in British Formula 3 just to get his eye back in. But Ed Jones, recovering from an injury, had a really good start to the season prior to that. He's qualified to 10th. Before that, you saw Felix Rosenqvist, who took 3 wins at this circuit last year, but has only managed to qualify in 9th place. There is Jordan King, who completes the top 10. In fact, he's just outside. He's in the 11th on the grid. You've got a couple of very quick drivers there who maybe have qualified a bit lower down the order than we would have expected. Lucas Auer there is going to start this race a little bit further back outside the top 10. The Austrian, who is 3rd in the championship, had a win in the 2nd event of the season at Hockenheim. He's only won of the season, but he's had 6 podiums. He's been very consistent, and of course he is on home territory. He comes from St Johann, so he's not exactly local. It's about 260 kilometres from here, about a 3-hour drive. But Lucas Auer hoping to win in his home country, the Austrian. So we'll keep an eye on the man in car number 3, see what he can do. One of the 3 drivers for the KFZ Tyler 24 Muka Motorsport team. The grid then being cleared, and we're all set for the race. There's Dennis van der Laar, who is another of the Dutch drivers, drives for the Prema Power team, who were the championship winning team last year, both in terms of the Drivers' Championship and in terms of the Manufacturers' Championship. They also run the man who's on pole position, Esteban Ocon, the Italian outfit. So there you can see crowd starting to come in already early on in the day. This is the first real main action of the day at this DTM weekend. Good crowds, beautiful weather so far, but high up in the mountains the weather can be changeable, so it's not guaranteed to be like this tomorrow. Mixed report so far. Good grid of cars then lined up on the grid, ready to set off onto their formation lap for this, the 8th event of the season. And where they all go then, after qualifying late yesterday evening, a chance just to get their eye in. It's a pretty warm day yesterday, but the track temperature you'd think is going to be hotter now than it was for qualifying. They'll have had to take that into account. And you can't really see the rise up to turn 1 from the camera angle there, but it is a steep rise into turn 1, Castrol Edge, and then an even steeper climb, Dave, up to turn 2, Remus.
Absolutely right, which is where they're heading to now. We'll bring you the grid in full in just a moment, both in voice and in graphics as well, and one of the most scenic backdrops to a racing circuit that we have the privilege and pleasure of being at. Absolutely fantastic here. As you can see, around the kink they go now up to the Remus turn, which is turn 2, which is really uphill, and you can see there's a real uplift midway through the corner as well, and often cars run wide there. We'll keep an eye on that during the course of the race for you as well. Some 4.3 kilometres here, and as promised, the grid in full for you. Ocon from Verstappen, then Blomqvist, Giovinazzi, Foucault, Dennis, then it's Gustavo Menezes and Felix Rosenqvist. Ed Jones, welcome return to Ed Jones to the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, then Jordan King, Latifi, Dennis van der Laar, Lucas Auer, Felix Sorales, then we see Roy Nassani and Sean Galil, Santino Ferrucci, Alexander Toril, Richard Goddard, Tatiana Calderon, down there in P20 from the Joe Zeller racing team. Then it's Joachim Kalviak, Hector Hurst, Sandra Zeller, Michaela Beretta, Alfonso Celis. So welcome to Alfonso, and Bryant Meisner, of course, with grid penalty is right at the back of the grid because of an engine change, I believe. Yeah,
the rule is if you change an engine in the season, you take a 10-place grid penalty for the next 3 races. That's basically going to be all the races this weekend. He was near the back anyway, but John Bryant Meisner, the Swedish driver, will have to start. We'll have to start at the very back, just in front of him. As you said, we have got a new driver, Alfonso Celis, the Mexican. He's been racing in GP3 this year, did a one-off outing in this championship in 2013 and a one-off outing in British Formula 3, so it's not his first time in F3. But the youngster started karting in Mexico. He's only got 3 seasons of car racing, only 2 seasons in Europe, starting near the back. 4.3 kilometres then is the distance around this circuit, and it is 8 turns, and as Dave said, turn 1 and turn 8 is where everybody in all of the categories so far this weekend have been getting warnings for exceeding the track limits, and if you do it too often you can incur a penalty, a drive-through penalty, which we have seen before, so you're going to have to watch it a little bit. There you go, track temperature a whopping 45.9 degrees, bearing in mind it's only just after 11 o'clock in the morning. What's it going to be like later on? Air temperature already 26 degrees, so absolutely scorching already here today. In the shade is the pole sitter there, number 2, Esteban Ocon, alongside him Max Verstappen to the left. On row 2, you've got the 2 Giagonia I Am with Carlin drivers, Tom Blomqvist and Antonio Giovinazzi, completing the top 6 then. Antonio Fuoco for Prema and Jake Dennis for Carlin, backed by the Racing Steps Foundation. Green flag waved at the back of the grid. They're ready to go racing. The red lights go out. The race starts, and it's a very good start for Max Verstappen. But I think Ocon has got the slight advantage here. He's just got his nose in front. The 2 second row men are absolutely wheel to wheel as well. Jake Dennis has had a good start. The contact between the top 2, Dave, and the championship leader is out. Verstappen has dropped down to 3rd, I think, but Esteban Ocon is out for the time being, right at the back of the field.
Well, certainly into turn 1, there was no question that those 2 cars weren't going to fit, were they? And Verstappen, who managed to stay on the track but has dropped a load of places. But now we see the Giagonia I Am pairing right at the front.
Yeah, I think it's Giovinazzi ahead of Blomqvist. We'll see when we get a closer picture of them. Jake Dennis made a very good start as well. He already gained a place into the first turn. Then, of course, he gained another one when Ocon went off. But he's coming under pressure, it looks like, from Felix Rosenqvist, who's made a decent start. The top 2 are absolutely together. Up towards Remus they go. Dennis has been pushed back to 4th place now. So that's Rosenqvist surely making a really good start to proceedings here at the head of the race. No, it is Blomqvist that's got his nose back in front, I think, in that battle at the head of the field, just ahead of his teammates. So Tom Blomqvist from 3rd on the grid, then Giovinazzi comes through next up. And then it's the first of the Muka Motorsport cars with Jake Dennis in 4th place.
Well, no surprise, the incident between cars number 2 and number 30 under investigation already from the stewards. There's more movement going on early stages of this race. My goodness me.
Yeah, that was Sean Galal having a look at the inside. His two teammates running first and second, of course, at the end of the first lap. Blomqvist, Giovinazzi, then Rosenqvist making that terrific start from 9th on the grid. 3 times he won here last year. It's a circuit he's always gone well on, Felix Rosenqvist, but qualifying didn't go that well. It doesn't matter now because he's already up there at the front of the field. You got Dennis, Fuoco and Verstappen recovered in 6th place. Latifi's up to 7th, King 8th, Meneses 9th. Lucas Auer's made a few up as well. He's up into 10th place, the Austrian, on his home circuit. But a real drama at the start of the race. That's Felix Sorales having a go. He's still having this big battle. That's with Roy Nassani, who's made a good start to the race. He's in 13th position. Down they come then, just sorting themselves out a bit now, the top 6. Not so further back though. There's a challenge here from King trying to get around the outside of Latifi. King in the blue Carlin car, but he didn't quite make it through there. So they accelerate out of Remus down towards the next right-hander. Turn 3 at Routh, then through the double left at Pirelli, turn 4, and the Worth curve here through turn 5. Already halfway around the lap. It's a very quick lap here in qualifying. They were averaging over 180 kilometres an hour. And there at the back of the field is Esteban Ocon. So he did recover, but he's right at the back of the field. This should give us a lively remainder of the race, shouldn't it? I think we're going to see the incident again here. Well, Ocon was in front. He was on the outside line. Yeah. Verstappen was on the inside, a bit further back. And just as Ocon came in, just wasn't room, was there?
No, there wasn't. There was no way they were going to make it. Now, as you called it absolutely right, that Verstappen had got a brilliant start, hadn't he? And yeah, it'll be down for the stewards to decide there whether Verstappen was too far across the curbs.
They'll each argue their own point.
Yeah, of course they will.
I'm sure you can blame Ocon for turning in. He had to turn in at some point. But certainly Max Verstappen had got his nose in the door, but he wasn't fully alongside. So we'll see what comes of that. Oh, somebody running off in the background there. Is that Fuoco? Yeah, Antonio Fuoco, who made a mistake there coming out of Remus, and that now puts him under pressure from Jordan King, who's got up to 7th. So we didn't see it, but Jordan's got up to 7th place ahead of Latifi. And a change there, Fuoco dropping a place as a result of the mistake at the previous corner. All about the momentum, particularly the start of the lap, as we said, which is it's hugely undulating, this circuit. I can really see it from the TV pictures. But if you bog down through the first or second turns, it takes a long time to get momentum back. That's what downhill runs in the middle of the circuit.
Really compromises you, doesn't it? You need to keep that momentum going. You're absolutely right.
There, we just saw a glimpse of Roy Nassani. He's up to 12th place now. Behind him is Ed Jones, who, of course, the injury he picked up at Power, the back injury. He's only in his 4th race of the season. We got these two teammates here together. The blue helmet number 4, that's Roy Nassani. Ahead of him is Lucas Auer. This is on the fringe of the top 10, this battle. So Lucas Auer has made a couple of places, 2 or 3 places at the start of the race. There's now 0.8 of a second the difference between the top 2, Blomqvist, then Giovinazzi. Rosenqvist still in 3rd place, but about a second behind the second place man now. Then Dennis and Verstappen is back up to 5th after Antonio Fuoco made that mistake at the exit to turn 2 last time out. So he's dropped to 6th, Latifi 7th, Meneses 8th, King is 9th. And then rounding out the top 10 is Dennis van der Laar, having one of his better races so far this season in 10th place. And look at 5th and 6th there, Dave, nose to tail.
Absolutely. Blomqvist, Giovinazzi is sticking with him. Last couple of laps, it's been 0.8 the margin between the two of them, but you're absolutely right. This battle is looking exciting now.
Yeah, absolutely right. Verstappen and Fuoco were tied together ahead of this battle as well. So some great stuff going on here. That's Dennis van der Laar scrapping away with Lucas Auer. Lucas has got his nose in front. He's committed to the move now. And for the right-hander coming up, left-hander coming up, coming out of the turn 2, it's still going to be Dennis van der Laar that will have his nose in front here. So Lucas Auer desperately trying to get past. He looks the quicker of the two there in the orange Muka Motorsport run car, Peter Muka's team. But Lucas Auer at the moment, the 19-year-old, who's now in his 3rd season of Formula 3, having done a season in the ATS F3 Cup, largely based in Germany 2 years ago, and then his first year in this championship was last year when he finished in 4th place. He actually switched teams this season. He raced for Prema last year, got a win, 9 podiums, but made the move across to Muka Motorsport, and he's, as I say, Third in the championship at the moment, but only a few points clear of Tom Blomqvist, who of course leads the race. So Tom with an opportunity to move back up into third place in the championship standings here. Esteban Ocon, Dave, already back up the order now. He's back up to 20th place.
Yeah, he is. He's making progress, but he's got to make a lot of progress, hasn't he? Him being taken out right at the start of the race. As once again, this battle continues to rage here. You've got the two Muka Motorsport cars tucked in behind Van der Laar there.
Yeah, this is for 10th place. So Van der Laar and the green and white Prema car is 10th, then Auer and Nissani 11th and 12th right behind him. Desperate to try and find a way through. Lucas Auer, so looks the quicker of the two. And then just behind them, we've got Ed Jones there in the blue Carling car, who's been overtaken at the start of this lap by Sean Galal and has a problem. And that does not look good, does it? No, I'm afraid that looks like the end of the race. Just before that, he'd been passed by Sean Galal, so I think maybe the problem started at the beginning of the lap. And now the car begins to grind to a halt. Jake Dennis is just hanging on to the tail of Felix Rosenqvist. There's Max Verstappen running after that incident in 5th place. Doesn't look like he's carrying any damage to the car,
no.
or certainly not too much. The pace is pretty good still. Here they come then, exiting the final turn, turn 8. The Red Bull Mobile, and up towards the first corner at Castrol Edge. There you really can see the undulation. I suspect this car then headed for the pits, Ed Jones. Back for the first time in 4 meetings, but it's been a difficult start to the weekend for him because the championship is now gone. So for the Dubai-based driver, it's all about just trying to pick up some wins this season if he can. Started the season well in the first couple of rounds of the championship, but Ed Jones, the Carlin driver, headed now, it seems, for the pits. His best weekend came at Hockenheim. We had a 2nd and a 3rd, 2 podiums in 3 of the races there. So there's damage to the car, so it does look like a technical error. They're looking at the back of the car. Hopefully he'll have time to get it fixed for qualifying later. The qualifying for this afternoon, which they'll have, determines the grid for the next 2 races, yes, doesn't it? So it's really important to get that car sorted.
Watching Gustavo Meneses there, and just with an eye on the timing screen, 3/10 Giovinazzi took out a Blomqvist's lead last time around, Chris.
Yeah, he did. Blomqvist, his pace is still pretty good. It's just that Giovinazzi's up the ante a bit, I think, here as well. Likewise, Felix Rosenqvist has just pulled away from Dennis in 4th. There's Verstappen in 5th. There's number 25, Fuoco. Number 1, Latifi. And number 16, Meneses, completing the top 8 in this race. Now you can see the gap from 1st to 2nd. Stabilises at 7/10 of a second. Blomqvist has just done the pace, responded really well there, yes, with the fastest lap of the race, 1:25.4. So he was, nearly 2/10 quicker on that lap. Edges back away. Giovinazzi is about 2.5 seconds clear of Rosenqvist in 3rd place. Rosenqvist's pace is very similar, and Rosenqvist in turn, yes, he did pull away from Dennis on that lap by 0.3 of a second. So the gap's just fanning out a little bit on that lap between the top 4. How about the progress of Esteban Ocon? Well, he continues to rise up the order as you'd expect, up into 17th place now, and a change there of position, Dave. Yeah,
big lock-up from Gustavo Meneses on the head up to the Remus turn.
Jordan King, the man who thought was going to get through there, but he didn't. So Jordan King, the British Formula 3 champion of 2013. And there's this battle again at the fringe of the top 10. And again, it looked like Dennis Van der Laar was going to lose the place, but he held firm here, did a good job there to keep Lucas Auer behind him. He was getting increasingly frustrated. Of course, the longer you sit behind somebody, Dave, the harder it becomes to overtake, in the sense that the guy ahead knows what's coming. He knows where you're a bit quicker. He knows where to defend. He can anticipate what you're going to do. Ideally, as soon as you get up to somebody, you want to get in there and get past them. Otherwise, it can become a bit of a grind, and I think that's what Lucas Auer is finding at the moment.
Just dived out there, didn't he, to take a look, but no way around there. And interestingly, in his frustration, he is being warned for track limits, is Lucas Auer. Now, the situation is you get warned a few times, Chris, don't you? And then, dependent on the steward, you can get a drive-through penalty. We've seen it happen before, so he'll have to be very aware and wise to that. Also being warned is Jordan King.
Yep.
Not going to be necessarily a problem now.
And Jules Sibkowiak and Felix Sorrells, 2 other drivers that have been warned for exceeding track limits. How many times have we said that phrase this season? It's something they're very hot on, the FIA, making sure they don't run over those white lines that you can see at the edge of the circuit there. You can run onto them, you can clip them, you can't run over them too often to try and stop drivers trying to cut corners and shortcut corners, or get on the power very, very early and then run wide. if there's space to do so. You can go over the white lines where there's a curb, so that's okay. You can't go over the curbs though, and of course they will be sensible about this. If you make a mistake and go over the white lines, they're not going to penalise you there. Right, here's another look at this start then, which is being investigated by the stewards. Look at the top two. So both made good starts. Then Ocon came back across to the left to take the line. I think that's where the confusion started.
I think they were absolutely side by side as they reached that turn-in point. Now, it will be down for the steward to decide whether... Oh, that's the first time we've seen that, isn't it? Was that...
That's Alex Tyrrell, who almost stalled on the line, the white car there. Well, I mean, there's no way that Max was fully alongside, and the back end of Ocon's car was clipped there. But you can see why he went for the gap, because Ocon, rather than hugging the inside line, he pulled back across to the left to take the ideal line through the corner. When that gap opened up, racer's instinct was for Verstappen to try and throw one up the inside. But quite a clout, wasn't it? I mean, Ocon was lucky to get going again, and lucky that he may well be carrying some damage to the rear of the car, but it's not sufficient to put him out of the race. He's back up to 16th position now, which is some effort, given that of course, the rest of the field had gone by the time he got restarted. They were out of turn 2 before he got back on the track.
And that was Ferrucci.
Tino Ferrucci getting a whack at the start of the race as well. The young 16-year-old, youngest driver in the field, Ferrucci, and he came into the championship at Norrisring, at Spa, because that when he was old enough to do so, and very impressive drives from him at the Norrisring, but he's found it quite a steep learning curve since then at Moscow, and so far here in Austria this weekend. So we're about a third of the way through the race. There is the leader, Tom Blomqvist, on his way possibly to moving up to third place in the championship standings, and possibly on his way to a 4th victory of 2014. This is the battle for third place. Number 27, Felix Rosenqvist, runner-up in the championship last year, but a really difficult season for the Swede this year, down in 7th place in the standings.
Giovinazzi now is getting very, very lively. Last time around, 6/10 the gap between Blomqvist and Giovinazzi. Has pulled another 3/10 out. It's down to 3/10 now. This is getting very tense.
Absolutely, yeah. Sort of one lap goes in favour of the leader, the next lap goes in favour of Giovinazzi. Ultimately, there's not much between them, but the gap, you're right, he's down to 0.3 of a second, which is just about as close as they've been since the first lap of the race. There's Esteban Ocon going through the shot. He's got a gap now to try and make up to the next group of cars. Here then is the battle for the lead of the race. Tom Blomqvist with his nose in front. There's a tight battle coming for third as well. Look at the man in the red, white and blue car, Jake Dennis, right onto the tail of Felix Rosenqvist. But here the two leaders side by side. Giovinazzi tries the outside line. That will not work. Carbon copy for the battle for third. That won't work. I don't think Jake Dennis was trying to move there. What he's trying to do is just put the driver ahead off and maybe get him on the way out of the corner. Top two remain then, with Blomqvist ahead of Giovinazzi. They're quite a way clear now, this third place battle. And if the third and fourth keep battling away, it won't be long before you know who's on their tail. Max Verstappen, the man who's won 7 races so far this season and lies second in the championship in car number 30. He's definitely reeling them in. Could still get a podium out of this, which would be a pretty good result, really, wouldn't it, from that first corner incident. There you go, 3/10 at the start of the lap, 1/10 of a second through the last sector was the gap between them. It's just widened out a little bit here. The end of the lap goes well, doesn't it, through the 8th turn at the Red Bull Mobile, and it's back out to half a second. But certainly the first half of the lap there, Giovinazzi was having a big go. It's the most committed we've seen him. Right, what about this battle for third, fourth and fifth now? 126.4s for Rosenqvist and Dennis, 125.7 for Verstappen. He took 6 or 7 tenths out of them on that lap, helped by the fact, I think, Dave, that they were battling each other as well.
Absolutely, as you're saying, that just plays into his hands, doesn't it? The more they can argue between themselves. And Esteban Ocon up to P15 from the very, very back of the grid after being nerfed around at turn 1 right at the start of the race. There he is.
And the answer to the question, is anything wrong with his car, is no, or at least not much, because his lap time, he's just had a clear lap there with no traffic, 125.7. The only driver on the track that's quicker than him is Verstappen. He's quicker than the leaders. So the car, obviously, it must have been a square-on hit with the rear wheel, has not really suffered too much damage. If it is damaged, he's driving around the problem magnificently. So he continues to rise up the order. He's got to get into the top 10 to get any points, though. So that is going to be his only target now. Then is Max Verstappen closing in on the third place battle. He currently runs in 5th position. After that, coming together with his main championship rival. There you can see the end plate to the left side of the front wing is damaged, but not too much, it seems. It won't help, but it's not hindering him that much. It probably is a bit of a hindrance, though. But he definitely just has a little bit more pace than those ahead now. Felix Rosenqvist, though, has responded well here. He's pulled back away from Jake Dennis, who 1 or 2 laps ago was breathing down his neck. And Max Verstappen actually might help Felix Rosenqvist out here, because if he starts battling with Dennis, Dennis is going to have to keep an eye on his mirrors, and the Swede might just be able to get away.
Well, the incident that we saw with Ocon and Verstappen is still under investigation as Jake Dennis. Oh!
Went for it from a long way back. There's a bit of contact, and who's 3 abreast as Max Verstappen comes alongside. Thank you very much. I'll go from 5th to 3rd. That was easier than he thought. Well, forwards 1 and backwards 1 for Jake, because he did get the place ahead of Rosenqvist, and Felix won't be best pleased about that, I don't think, but that was some move. You've got to try the moves here, though. Felix Rosenqvist coming back at him. It's not the easiest place in the world to overtake, and Felix Rosenqvist has gone back through, and that was grit your teeth time. Felix, you can tell he was a bit wound up by that. Got back ahead of Jake Dennis. So he tried to gain a place. Jake's lost one. In fact, they both lost one to Verstappen, who's back to 3rd place now. Here's a replay of it. Quite a long way back. It's a brave move, this, from Jake Dennis. Has a lock-up. Quite get his nose in front. There's a tiny bit of contact, I think. Not much. Enough to send Rosenqvist wide. And this is another replay of the number 1 car, of Latifi sliding and going into a spin. So dropped right down the order. That's why he's suddenly down in 19th place. We didn't see that at the time. But Latifi was running in the top 10. The Canadian out. This is John Bryant Meisner from the back of the field. Number 10, the blue car, getting ahead there. Oh, and with a bit of contact and causing a spin to Beretta, yeah. His brother is a very competent skier. Skis for the Italian downhill team. Beretta gets going again, though. Very gentle tap, that. It was enough to send him into a spin, though, wasn't it? So, Blomqvist leads. Giovinazzi 2nd. There they are. Max Verstappen back up to 3rd place now. And then this battle for 4th between Rosenqvist and Dennis. Dennis back onto the tail of Rosenqvist, look. And he's picking up the slipstream now. Rosenqvist can see him coming in the mirror, so blocks his line a bit. So Dennis will have to try the outside line in the number 28 car. That doesn't work. Can he get through on the way out of the corner? And watch from behind as well, because Antonio Fuoco in the number 25 Prema car is catching them up, isn't he?
Yes, and again, it plays into the hands, doesn't it, of Fuoco, in much the same way that it played into the hands of Max Verstappen.
Jake Dennis was quick enough to be in the top 3 in the free practice sessions, but didn't quite get the lap he wanted in qualifying yesterday, which was why he started 6th on the grid. But he certainly has got the pace to be battling for a podium position. There is number 4 getting a black and white flag. Like that's probably for exceeding track limits. And no, isn't that Lucas Auer? That might be for another incident, possibly. No, it's Roy Nassani, isn't it? Sorry, Roy Nassani. So he's added to the list of drivers who've got to watch it now. And yes, it was for track limits. It's come up on the screen now. Another one who's been warned is Spike Goddard. Richard Goddard has been warned. So 6 or 7 drivers now being monitored pretty heavily by the stewards.
The incident between Simkoviak and Ferrucci, which was under investigation, they've decided that no further action is going to be taken. What's interesting about that is they've made a very, very quick decision on that particular incident. No answer to the opening lap incident between Ocon and Verstappen. Ocon
back up to 14th place now, incidentally. And he's still got a chance at some points here.
Yeah.
So Blomqvist leads, Giovinazzi is 2nd, Verstappen is 3rd, Rosenqvist is 4th, Dennis 5th, Fuoco catching them a little bit in 6th, Menezes is 7th, Jordan King in 8th, Van der Laar still in 9th place, still fending off Lucas Auer, Simkoviak in another incident here, and Latifi as well. He's already had a spin a couple of laps ago, just saw the back end of that. So Simkoviak's going to stop. Latifi gets going again, but he's almost at the back of the field now. Oh, this was Latifi making a mistake there. Oh, and almost over. Oof, goes Jules Simkoviak. That was hairy scary, but luckily it landed the right way up. There was a point there where it almost tipped over. So Jules Simkoviak, the car is damaged enough to put him out of the race, I think. And I think that was a case of Latifi, frustrated at what had happened a couple of laps before, desperately trying to work his way through the order. And I think Jules really the innocent victim in all of that, because Latifi was a long way back and nerfed the rear corner. Didn't get alongside him. So Jules Simkoviak out of the race. That's he was already behind Esteban Ocon, so that's not going to be another place gained for the championship leader.
Well, Giovinazzi and Blomqvist is now 1.5, the margin between them. So Giovinazzi's real aggression in trying to get past Blomqvist and came very, very close as well. But his, that aggression has clearly played havoc a bit with his tyres, hasn't it? And he's now not, well, he's 1.5 seconds behind Tom Blomqvist, who's leading the race.
Yeah, and what might also be playing on the mind of Giovinazzi is that this is going to be, as Latifi comes into the pits in front of the commentary box, looks like he's out of the race. Wasn't going to get any points anyway after those 2 incidents. But yeah, what might be playing on Giovinazzi's mind is that he hasn't had a good result for a while. He's just had the 1 podium at Hockenheim. He had a 4th at Po, he had a 5th at Hungary, but he has only picked up the odd point since then. So Spa, Norris Ring and Moscow weren't that kind to him, and this would be a really good result, be his 2nd visit to the podium this season, his equal best result, and he's not going to risk too much, I don't think, to try and catch that gap, having already had that 1 big go, as you said. That's the silver and yellow car of Gustavo Meneses, number 16. He currently runs in the points in 8th place, run by Van Amersfoort Racing.
No surprise, the incident then between Latifi and Szymkowiak is under investigation. That high-flying moment for Szymkowiak, which has seen him out of the race. We saw the car parked up just off the exit of turn 2. His race over and done and dusted. So, Ocon, where are we at now? P14 still.
Yeah, only half a second behind Felix Sorales, though. So 13th is possible, and then there's a couple of seconds that, well, a few seconds actually, that he needs to make up to the next group of cars to get into the top 10. So there is Felix Rosenqvist in 4th, Dennis in 5th, then Fourcault and Meneses, and King on the back of that group in 8th place. At a steady race, Van der Laar has now pulled away from Lucas Auer. There's Roy Nassani, number 4, currently running in 11th place, and there is number 20, Sean Galal, having he's getting better and better, Sean Galal. He's had some good races recently. He's there in 12th place, not quite in the points yet, but it has been picking up points recently. Sean Galal has managed to move up the championship a fair bit, and his best result coming at the Norris Ring, where he got a really good 6th place finish in the final race of the weekend there. There he is, number 20, Sean Galal, trying to hunt down a place inside the top 10 and some points. There is Lucas Auer then, currently 3rd in the championship, but maybe not for long, with Tom Blomqvist now leading the race. So 1.6 seconds now the gap from 1st to 2nd. Verstappen still on for a podium, but of course the incident that he's been involved with at the start of the race is being investigated. Rosenqvist is there in 4th. Dennis and Fourcault rounding out the top 6 points at the moment. It's good on the brakes, isn't he, Jake Dennis? Comes from his karting days, that, although of course they're all pretty much former kart racers. But he just has a big lunge again, and now he has drawn alongside Felix Rosenqvist for 4th place. He's determined to get the move done here. He's got his nose in front, but Felix Rosenqvist are going to try and hang on here around the outside. Another slight lock up front right, lock up there for Jake Dennis, but he's made the move. And that was very good. And that all started at the corner before, Dave, where he just got alongside Felix Rosenqvist with, again, a great piece of outbraking.
Yeah, as you say, he's the king of the late breakers, isn't he? It's been fantastic to watch. And the battle between him and Rosenqvist has been utterly supreme over the laps that we've seen. And behind now, of course, is Antonio Fourcault and then Gustavo Meneses.
That's right. So trying to pull away now from Felix Rosenqvist. Looks like he'd been quicker for a few laps, didn't
Absolutely.
it? But then, because he had that tangle where he tried to get Felix, and then they both lost out a few laps ago to the opportunistic Max Verstappen. We're going to see a replay here. And this is where it all started, Dave. You got the inside line. You don't need to shoot in front into the corner. You just need to be alongside because you've got the line. And control your braking there. He did a very good job of that. Absolutely perfect move from Jake Dennis to put him up to 4th place. See the gap, though, that he's got to try and make up to get 3rd.
But look how he is pulling away. Clearly now he's got the space in front of him. He can go for it. Rosenqvist now will... Well, Fourcault is under pressure now from Meneses. Meneses taking a look now and getting right alongside Fourcault here, but Fourcault going to be in the best position for the next turn unless Meneses is going to go all the way around the outside. Fourcault there in the inside, very, very close, but now Meneses is in the right place for the left-hander to come.
Good stuff this from the two of them. Meneses almost running out of road. Watch Jordan King as well in the blue Carlin car, trying to pounce on this. He's a very good racer, Jordan King, and he sees what's coming. He plans it all, and he gets ahead of Meneses. That was a very clever move from Jordan King. He just gave him enough room to fight, and then got quicker run out of the corner and got in between them. So Jordan King now with a great move to get up to 7th place. That was all about reading the situation, and the British Formula 3 champion did it perfectly.
Yes, you're absolutely right. He just sat back and watched, didn't he, and thought, right, this is where I'm going to make my move.
Good stuff. But fair play to Meneses, he was having a go here. And we've seen some good battles, haven't we, in this Formula 3 race. And it's been a great season so far. We've seen some really good races. We've seen lots of action and overtaking, not just at the front of the field, but battles through the midfield. And it's been a standout year for the European Formula 3 Championship, with all these rookies coming through again in qualifying. The point proven by 4 of the top 6 in qualifying were all complete rookies. So some tremendous talent coming through, Dave.
Absolutely, and Fuoco and King together here round the Remus turn there.
Quite going to happen though, is it? I don't think.
Dives out now from the slipstream behind Fuoco. Tries to take a look up the inside there. Fuoco's wise to it, isn't he? He's shutting the door at every opportunity.
Yeah, Jordan King though might line something up on the way out of the corner here. The 20-year-old from Warwickshire gets his foot on the accelerator, goes up through the gears, but Antonio Fuoco is just keeping him at arm's length at the moment. And Jordan King, this is the battle for 6th place, will have to remain, for the time being at least, in 7th position. Started car racing back in 2010, Jordan King, in the now defunct Formula Parma Audi Championship, then was the youngest ever racer in the FIA Formula 2 Championship, which ran at the time when he was just 17. Formula Renault racing, he's raced out in India as well in the MRF Delhi series, in which he was the champion. And now concentrating on Formula 3, of course. Here's a replay then. Meneses gave it everything, but Dave, when you're on the outside line, you're always exposed. Look at King here, pouncing.
He could just eke out that opportunity, could King, couldn't he? And you're right, he just sat there and watched that all happen and thought, right, this is where I'm going to put the car and this is where I'm going to take advantage. Okay, race leader goes through. Blomqvist, you see on shot there, it's got 1.8 second margin over Giovinazzi now, and then it's a way back, isn't it, before we get to Verstappen in P3.
Yeah, and likewise, the gap from 3rd to 4th, which is Jake Dennis, is more than 5, so it's nearer 6 seconds. So the front-running places look settled. Blomqvist and Giovinazzi's pace has been pretty even, Stevens. The gap's come down to almost nothing at times. It's never been more than a couple of seconds. A little glance down the inside here for Jordan King. He's never going to try the move there. He's just trying to put he's just trying to put Fuoco off there. He's got to watch his mirrors, though, because we've got Meneses right there with him also. Well,
Meneses will feel wronged from the earlier when he was trying so very hard. So Meneses just thinking, I can get back in on this party now.
Absolutely. So Fuoco currently lying in 5th place in the championship. King currently lying in 6th place in the championship. Now, there are quite a few points between them. Jordan King's always been quick this season, but he's had 1 or 2 dramas with the car. He had 3 DNFs and a DNS, so particularly suffering at the Hungaroring, and he only had 1 finish, which was a 5th place finish. That's where he lost ground in the championship. Not going to give up on it though. He's got podiums recently, 2 at the Norris Ring 2 rounds ago, and a 2nd place at Moscow. Here we go then. Meneses now, he's trying to pounce, and that was fairly straightforward in the end. So he drives through and gets 7th place back from Jordan King. Jordan doesn't like that very much, so he tries to come back around the outside into turn 2 at Remus, and then cut back up the inside, still climbing uphill here. Meneses runs a bit wide over the curbs, accelerates away. Jordan King trying to come back at him now as they go towards Rauch, turn 3. And it'll be into the double left at Pirelli and Worth curve. Jordan King's not going to get through into the corner. His best bet is around the outside. We've seen him carrying lots of speed around the outside, but he got that move initially around the outside of Pirelli. Can he do something again here as they go towards the double lefts then? And this has allowed Antonio Fuoco ahead of them just to stream away from them. There's a replay. And just carried great speed there,
yes.
Meneses, coming out of the corner. Really got his foot in nicely and kept the flow going through the corner. At the head of the field, there is Tom Blomqvist, former British Formula Renault champion. A couple of seasons in Formula 3 now, and looking controlled and experienced. Not really had as many podiums and wins as he would like this season. 3 wins, 2 other podium finishes. But he's been unlucky as well. He's been speared off the track a couple of times, yes, hasn't he? I think back particularly to the Norris Ring, where he seemed to have a target marked on the car.
Yes.
He seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time all the time. Was a bit luckless there, to be fair. So, although he's 4th in the championship at the moment, he could well have been a lot higher up had he not had these misfortunes. Of course, he's not the only one that would say that. Certainly Max Verstappen has had a few technical problems with clutches, and last time out the alternator let him down at Moscow, so he's had some dramas as well. Esteban Ocon has not had too many, but he certainly had one today, and he's still only in 13th place.
So he's not in the, crucially, he's not in the points, is he? And where are we? Lap 21 of 24, so just 3 laps left to run, and well, it's feasible perhaps that you could get Galale, Nissani, and then it's a huge hunk of time, 5 seconds or so up to hour, isn't it? He's going to struggle to get in the points, isn't he?
I think so. Santino Ferrucci's just come into the pits for the 2nd time in the race, so all is not well with that car. It's just become an extended test session now to try and sort the car out. Gap has suddenly really widened, hasn't it, in the last couple of laps, from Tom Blomqvist to Antonio Giovinazzi in 2nd place. It's 4.1 seconds now. What about Max Verstappen in 3rd place? He's still catching. In fact, he was nearly a second quicker on the last lap.
He's quicker than Giovinazzi, isn't he?
Giovinazzi's got to be careful. He had a slow lap last time around, a 1:27. He should be in the 1:26s. He did a 1:27.2, and Verstappen did a 1:26.3. So I wonder if he's struggling a bit on the tyres here. Dennis van der Laan up at 26 still, being shadowed by Lucas Auer. They're 9th and 10th, so Lucas is in the points, but this is not where he had hoped to be at the start of the weekend. Of course, he will get the opportunity to correct all of this if he has a good qualifying session later on and gets a couple of good grid positions for the 2 races that we'll have tomorrow for the FIA European Formula 3 Championship. And even if he can get past Dennis van der Laan now, there's a big gap back ahead to Jordan King, who would be his next target. There you can see the difference between them. Has come down, it's crept down to just about half a second at the start of the lap. Crucially for Lucas Auer, he's got rid of Roy Nissani now. He's pulled right away from Nissani, who's 11th, Jean Galal in 12th, who I think is about to become 13th because Esteban Ocon crossed the line not very far behind him last time around, so Esteban might be about to gain another place, but as you say, not yet in the points. We've got to keep an eye on this gap from 2nd to 3rd as well.
Well, Giovinazzi had turned the wick up a bit, hadn't he? 1:25.994 last time in comparison. What was Verstappen on 1:26.732?
Yeah, so Verstappen's pace has stayed similar.
Yeah.
But, yeah, definitely the lap before, we didn't see it, but I think Giovinazzi must have made a mistake somewhere or got held up in traffic or something like that. But he did have a slow lap, but he's responded very well now, and actually he's almost as quick. He's 5,000 slower than Tom Blomqvist, the race leader. So given that we're now on the final lap of the race, yeah, there you can see he's still looking fairly good for 2nd place here. Verstappen's not close enough. That car that Max Verstappen is driving is definitely not as quick as it should be. The damage that he picked up at the first corner has definitely hindered him a bit. I think he's quicker than his lap times here. He's just trying to get what he can out of the race, and 3rd place, if he can keep it, will be a good achievement.
Particularly in that Ocon is not going to score points.
Yes, exactly. He certainly hasn't given up on the title just yet. While it's mathematically possible, he'll just try and bag as many wins and podiums as he can. It's fine margins, this. The momentum was very much with Verstappen until the last round of Moscow, which Esteban Ocon won all 3 races last time out in that race. Winning this one, though, it's going to be Tom Blomqvist. He takes the checkered flag. It's a very strong drive from Tom. His 4th win of the season. Joint best result of the season for Giovinazzi in 2nd place. And crossing the line in 3rd is Max Verstappen. 4th place goes to Jake Dennis. 5th place to Felix Rosenqvist. And then it should be Antonio Fuoco, it is, who takes 6th position. Meneses with a good drive to 7th. And then we'll see, a change for 8th at the end there. We didn't see what happened, but over the line in 8th place went van der Laar. Jordan King, by half a second, had dropped to 9th position. So, didn't have a particularly slow lap. I think it was just... no, he did have a slow lap, didn't he? 1:30. Yeah, something happened to Jordan King there on that final lap. Did a 1:30 when he had been looking pretty comfortable. He was a long way clear of van der Laar, so I suspect something went wrong there. And Jordan King dropping to 9th. Lucas Auer stays in 10th as the final driver inside the points. Nissani 11th, Galal in 12th, and Esteban Ocon stayed in 13th place in the end. So a really, really good drive that by Tom Blomqvist. He took advantage of the situation between the top 2 into turn number 1. He fended off a real attack from his teammate, particularly on the first lap. Then again, about 10 minutes into the race.
Yes, both the attempts that Giovinazzi really had on Blomqvist came in the first third of the race, didn't they? And then from that point on, then Blomqvist seemed able to completely control it, didn't he?
That's right. We'll see the drivers coming up onto the podium before the end of the show. The top 3 overall, and the top 3 rookies as well will be making their way onto the podium. Verstappen, the leading rookie, 3rd, then Dennis in 4th place as the next best rookie coming through in 2nd position. And there is Max Verstappen, who will close the gap a little bit now to the championship points leader. Still going to be over 100 points, well, just under 100 points. But you never know, do you?
No. And, well, there's still no information on our screen with regards to the investigation that went on right at the start of the race following that incident between Ocon and Verstappen.
So Blomqvist, Giovinazzi and Verstappen on the overall podium. Verstappen, Dennis and then Fuoco will be the other driver on the rookie podium with that 6th place finish. And good to see Antonio Fuoco getting some better results now after a tough mid-season that he endured after a lightning start to the year at Silverstone. He had a 1st, a 3rd and a 4th at Silverstone, and along with Esteban Ocon really shone that weekend, but he didn't manage to pick up too many podiums in mid-season. Hungaroring was good, a couple of seconds there. Spa and Norris Ring, not good weekends. Then he's back on form with, as I said, 2 podiums at Moscow last time out. So that's the 22nd race of the season now complete. And Tom Blomqvist, the 3rd most winning driver of the season with 4. Verstappen's got 7. And Esteban Ocon, 8 wins. The other winners have been Lucas Auer, who took a victory early on at Hockenheim. We've had a win for Antonio Fuoco, as I said, at Silverstone. And we also had a win for Felix Rosenqvist at Pau. There he is then, Tom Blomqvist. And nice to see Tom on the top step of the podium, where it will be when he goes up there shortly. He's been a very hard-working driver this season, and as I said, he has been luckless on occasion. So a great drive that. It's just showed us exactly what he's capable of there. Controlled that very nicely to win by 4 seconds. Good drive as well, though, from Antonio Giovinazzi. He takes a strong 2nd place finish. Max Verstappen, who was down in, what was it, 6th place after the incident at turn 1. Bit of damage to the end plate. Comes through to 3rd place. There you see the rest of the point scorers. Dennis, Rosenqvist, Fuoco, Meneses, Van der Laar going well in 8th. King dropping to 9th on the last lap hour. Disappointed for the Austrian in 10th place, but he does pick up some points. There's Esteban Ocon. Not used to seeing that, are we? 13th. There's only been 3 races this season, including that one, where he's not been in the points. He had, 4 races. He had a 9th at Hockenheim when he was 3rd